My name is Emily Bennett. I am 18 years old, and I was very excited. Interning at Carter Corporation seemed like a dream come true, a stepping stone into the world of technology that I have always admired. I had spent countless hours learning about the company and preparing for this opportunity, hoping to prove to myself and others that I could succeed in such a prestigious environment. It was my first day as an intern at Carter Corporation, one of the largest technology companies in New York City. Even though I knew it was just an internship, it seemed like a huge one. Upon entering the building, I was amazed. Everything was so grand and imposing, gleaming marble hallways, floor-to-ceiling windows, a sophistication that made me feel like everything mattered. It was impossible not to feel out of place. As I walked into the conference room for the presentation, I noticed my heart was racing. Everyone seemed so confident, and I tried not to stumble on my way to my chair. Then he walked in, Michael Carter, the CEO of the corporation. His charisma was palpable. He conducted himself with such calm authority that there was silence in the room. Even the way he adjusted his cufflinks exuded confidence, as if his every movement was deliberate and deliberate. The air seemed heavier. He was about 46 years old, but he looked much younger with his stoic posture and the elegance of his perfectly tailored suit. When he began to speak, no one dared to make a sound. I sat at the back of the room, trying to blend in with the crowd. But in an instant, our eyes met. It happened quickly, and fast enough that I looked away, and my face turned red. Why was he looking at me? I was just an intern, the youngest. When the meeting was over, I gathered my papers and walked down the hallway, wondering if I had done the right thing. Then I heard footsteps behind me. "You must be the new intern," said a firm voice. I turned around, and there he stood, Michael Carter. My heart beat faster. "My name is Emily," I replied, trying not to show how nervous I was. He smiled, but it wasn't just a smile. It was a smile that seemed to say that he knew something I didn't. "Welcome, Emily. I hope you feel comfortable here. My door is always open." He continued down the hallway, as if this was just another chance encounter. But it was different for me. Later, while sorting through papers, I overheard coworkers discussing him. "Carter is a genius, but no one knows what's on his mind," one of them said. "And he never mixes work with his personal life. At least that's what they say," another added. I tried to ignore it, but it was too late. Something about him caught my attention, and I realized that this story was just beginning. I was overcome with the feeling that this job was going to be more than just an internship. Every day in the office was special, but not because of the work itself, but because of Michael Carter's presence. He never crossed the line of professionalism, but there was something in his eyes, in his words, that I couldn't ignore. One day I was alone in the break room, sorting through paperwork. I was so deep in thought that I didn't notice the door open. When I looked up, he was standing in front of me. "Emily, is everything okay?" he asked, his voice calm but confident. I was startled, but quickly tried to pull myself together. "Yeah, everything's fine. Just getting used to the new assignments," I replied, trying to sound confident. He smiled slightly, but that smile struck me as unusual again, as if there was something more behind it. "Well, that's fine. If you need anything, let me know," he said and walked out, leaving me in silence. I stood there, unable to concentrate on my work. A strange feeling grew inside me, as if there was an invisible connection between us that I couldn't explain. From that moment on, his presence became unbearably tangible to me. Even when he simply walked by my desk and said, "Good morning," I could feel my heartbeat quicken. At a company party, things escalated. I tried to stay out of the way, feeling awkward around people who were much older and more experienced than me. But then he approached me again. "Are you feeling okay?" he asked quietly so no one would hear. I looked up at him, and for a moment I forgot where I was. His voice was so warm it almost took my breath away. I'm okay. I finally replied, but my voice was shaking. He tilted his head slightly and said, "Take care of yourself, Emily. Sometimes what seems simple can turn out to be much more complicated." Those words stayed in my head all evening. After the party, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Michael's words echoed in my head, and every detail of our brief conversation seemed to be more than just words. I couldn't understand how it had happened, but I knew one thing: I was drawn to him more and more. The next day was business as usual. I tried to focus on work, avoiding seeing Michael, but late that night, as I was leaving the conference room, I heard him call out. "Emily, wait," he said softly. I stopped and slowly turned around, seeing him a few feet away from me. "We need to talk," he continued. "Michael, I don't think that's a good idea," I replied, my heart racing as the tension between us became almost unbearable. "These are the rules we're so afraid of breaking," he said. I didn't know how to respond. His words struck at the very core of my doubts. We stood in the empty hallway, and the world around us seemed to disappear. "But I can't ignore what I'm feeling anymore. Can you?" he whispered. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Everything inside me was tearing up. Logic said it was wrong, but my heart had already made its choice. "Michael," I whispered, "I feel the same way." He froze, mulling over my words, then slowly stepped closer. His voice softened as he spoke. "Then let's stop pretending." I didn't respond. Instead, I took a step toward him, and he did the same. Our lips met, and in that moment the world stopped. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a confession we couldn't share with anyone else. When we pulled away, he smiled weakly. "This is just the beginning," he said. I went back to my desk, but it was as if everything around me had changed. The room was the same, the people the same, but I couldn't see the place the way it had been before. Our kiss had changed something inside me, opening a door that couldn't be closed. The next day, Michael walked by a few times, but he didn't linger. He acted as if nothing had happened, but I noticed that his gaze lingered on me a little longer than usual. It was both reassuring and alarming at the same time. Later that day, he texted me, "Come by my office after work. We have something important to discuss." My heart raced as I waited for the end of the workday. When the time came, I knocked and entered his office. He was standing at the window looking out at the cityscape. "Close the door," he said without turning around. I did as he asked and remained standing still. "Emily," he began, finally turning to me, "this path isn't going to be easy. If we continue, it will change everything. Your career, my reputation, our future, everything will be at stake." I was silent, mulling over his words. He stepped closer, his voice softer. "I can't promise it will be easy, but I know I don't want to lose you. You matter more to me than I can express." His words struck me to the core. "Michael," I said finally, "I don't want to lose that either, but what if it doesn't work out?" He took my hand, his gaze hard. "We'll face it together, but the choice is yours. Think it over and do what you think is right." When I walked out of his office, I felt a little better. I didn't know what choice I would make, but I knew one thing: he was willing to do anything for me. Now I had to decide if I was willing to do the same.